Hello students, welcome to the course on stock and commodity markets. Today we are going to deal with a special chapter. Can you look at this picture? There is one green curve moving up and there is one red curve moving down. Can you figure out what it is? It's a graph, right? So normally we see these kind of graphs in stock market, right? So graphs of company shares and even the index graph looks like this, right? Yeah. So today we are going to deal with the chapter trading in stock market. You are going to learn this because before you invest, know how it works. Because losers are more in number compared to gainers in stock market. Okay, so know it completely before you invest in stock market. There is a famous quote: the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. This means if you can have patience in you, you can win big gains in stock market, right? So patience is the key. So this is said by Warren Buffett, the world's richest man, right? The world's richest stock market investor. So let us set the objectives of this class. Here we learn how to trade online in stock market, and we know how trading and settlement process takes place, and we understand the role of various entities constituting stock market. I mean participants in stock market. Okay, so moving on, first we deal with meanings and definitions. So the first one, stock market and stock exchanges. Here you need some explanation. Stock market refers to marketplace, whether physical or virtual, in which stocks, shares, mutual fund units, etc. are traded. Okay, so it may be a physical marketplace or a virtual marketplace. Virtual means online marketplace where stocks, shares, mutual fund units, etc. are traded. Stock exchange refers to a particular entity or organization which facilitates trading of shares, stocks, mutual funds, etc. So examples for stock exchanges can be NSE, National Stock Exchange, and BSE, Bombay Stock Exchange. So these are the particular entities or organizations which facilitate trading in stocks and shares. But stock market is a general term. It refers to the entire marketplace or the entire market system in which trading of stocks and shares takes place. Okay, so we shall move on. Clearing and settlement. Clearing and settlement refers to activities which take place after trade has taken place, and they are carried through clearing corporation or clearing house of the exchange. Suppose a trade takes place, there is a buyer and there is a seller. Trade has taken place, okay. So buyer's obligation to seller and seller's obligation to buyer, that is shares and cash. Okay, these are the obligations. Buyer has to pay cash and seller has to deliver shares, right? So these obligations are determined and finalized, settled by means of settlement. So this entire procedure is called clearing and settlement. So in case of any trade that takes place between a buyer and a seller, the counterparty's obligations, that is cash, securities, are determined and settled by means of settlement. So this entire process is called clearing and settlement. Next, clearing corporations. Clearing corporations are the entities or organizations which undertake post-trade activities for the exchange. Which undertake post-trade activities for the exchange. Post-trade activities means clearing and settlement, risk management. Okay. So every stock exchange will have its own clearing house. For example, NSE has its own clearing corporation, NSCCL, that is National Securities Clearing Corporation Limited. It was started in August 1995 and it was the first clearing corporation established in India. Let's move on. Clearing members. Clearing members are responsible for settling the obligations determined by clearing corporations. So after every trade, clearing corporation determines obligations of each and every party, counterparty. So those obligations are settled by clearing members. Okay. So they do this by making available funds and securities in designated accounts. So they just make available funds and securities in designated accounts. So these designated accounts are with clearing banks or depositories. Okay, so these designated accounts are with clearing banks or depositories. Next, clearing banks. Clearing banks are a link between clearing members and clearing corporation to effect settlement of funds. So every clearing member will have a dedicated clearing account in clearing banks, designated clearing banks, and clearing member will make available funds and securities in that account to effect settlement of accounts. So this happens on the date of settlement. Okay. So clearing banks are banks which open dedicated clearing accounts for clearing members. Why? To enable them to make settlement of funds and securities. Okay. Settlement cycle. Settlement cycle refers to the maximum period that a trade takes to settle. Okay. Maximum period that a trade takes to settle, to get settled. So it is usually determined as T plus 1 days or T plus 2 days, like that. T means trade day. T means trade day. So trade day plus 2 days. If the trade happens on Monday, T plus 2, that is Monday plus 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday. So Wednesday, the trade is going to be settled. So this is called settlement cycle. So right from the initiation of trade, paying and payout of funds, paying and payout of securities, everything happens, and this entire process takes place in 3 days. So it is called settlement cycle. So normally in case of shares, it is T plus 2 days. Okay. Custodians. Custodians are those members who settle trades on behalf of trading members when a particular trade is assigned to them. So custodians are those members who settle trades on behalf of trading members when such trades are assigned to them. Okay. Depository. Depository is an organization which holds securities in dematerialized form or electronic form, just like a bank holds crores of rupees in electronic form, right? In the same way, a depository holds securities in electronic form or dematerialized form. So this facilitates trading of securities, and trading becomes easy, convenient, fast, There are two depositories in India, NSDL and CDSL. NSDL stands for National Securities Depository Limited and CDSL stands for Central Depository Services Limited. Then DMAT. DMAT stands for dematerialization. Suppose you have some physical share certificates with you of different companies. You want to convert it into DMAT form. Okay. So then you have to approach a DP, depository participant, and open a DMAT account and apply for dematerialization. You have to submit DRF, dematerialization request form, DRF. So along with the application, you have to give share certificates. Then DP will approach the depository and make the dematerialization happen. So this is called dematerialization, converting hard copies, I mean physical share certificates, into electronic form or DMAT form. Remat. This is just opposite of DMAT. So here you convert shares in DMAT form into physical share certificates. Okay, you are having some shares in your DMAT account, but you want to convert those shares into physical certificates, I mean hard copy. That process is called remat. For this, you have to submit an application, RRF, rematerialization request form. So you have to fill up this form, then along with the details of shares to be rematerialized, you have to provide it to the depository participant. So DP will approach the depository and make the rematerialization happen. So this process is called remat, conversion of electronic DMAT shares into physical share certificates. So moving ahead, clearing and settlement process. The picture on the right side is just a depiction of a clearing and settlement process that takes place at NSE, National Stock Exchange. So normally there are 5 stages in clearing and settlement process. Firstly, trade recording. A trade takes place between a buyer and a seller. A buyer buys a certain number of shares from seller. That trade gets recorded and gets confirmed. Then determination of obligation. So each party's obligation with reference to this particular trade, that is the amount of money buyer is going to pay and the number of securities the seller is going to deliver. So this is determined. So obligations are determined by NSCCL in this example, clearing corporation. So obligations are determined by NSCCL, clearing corporation, and paying of funds and securities happen. clearing members make available funds and securities in the designated clearing accounts with the depositories. Then payout of funds and securities. This is opposite. Clearing banks send electronic instructions to the depositories to pay out of funds and securities. So when that happens, the entire clearing and settlement process will be completed. So it begins with trade recording. Trade gets recorded and gets confirmed, and obligations of each counterparty, buyer and seller, are determined. Then paying of funds and securities, that is, clearing members will make available funds and securities in the designated clearing accounts. Then payout of funds and securities. So as per the instructions of clearing banks, depositories release funds and securities. Okay. Then we talk about risk. There is always an element of risk involved in financial decisions. In the same way, dealings in stock market is also influenced by risk, or it is also under risk. So the government and the relevant authorities have placed certain restrictions or requirements, conditions to protect investors from exorbitant risk factors, right? So this is called risk management. The main aim of authorities or government or exchanges or whatever is to protect investors from unbearable risk. So we learn about risk management. In order to protect investors from unbearable amount of risk, stock exchanges and government authorities have placed certain restrictions on participants in stock market. This is called risk management. Okay, why they are doing this? To protect investors from unbearable risk factors. So they are placing restrictions on participants in stock market. So risk containment measures. So what are the measures taken by stock exchanges to contain risk? Firstly, capital adequacy requirements. Just like a bank which has to maintain a certain percentage of its uh, percentage of its deposit liabilities in the form of reserve with RBI. In the same way, clearing members, custodians have to maintain a certain part of their capital for combating risk. Okay. what I said, a bank, any bank, is required to maintain a certain percentage of their deposit liabilities for capital adequacy. Okay, because there is always a risk associated with deposits, public deposits. So to cover that and to enable banks to repay those deposit liabilities, RBI has made a rule. A certain percentage of deposit liabilities should be kept as reserve, should be kept for capital adequacy reserve. So that is called capital adequacy requirement. In the same way, clearing members, custodians are also required to maintain capital adequacy, a certain part of their capital for combating risk. Okay. Online monitoring. This online monitoring is always on. Suppose you place an order for buying shares of some company, you are monitored. You are monitored online. So stock exchanges are always keeping an eye on the number of orders placed, number of orders executed, volume movement records, price movement records, in what direction the price is moving, everything. So stock exchanges can have records, statistics of everything. This is called online monitoring. And also rumors, rumors which come in the print media are verified and companies are approached to verify the same, and afterwards they are informed to the public if they are price sensitive. So this is called online monitoring. Market surveillance mechanism. To ensure investor protection and to safeguard the integrity of the markets, stock exchanges surveillance on activities of investors as well as activities taking place within the exchange. So these are called market surveillance. So this is to safeguard the integrity of the markets and to protect investors. So this market surveillance mechanism operates at two levels. One is surveillance cell in the stock exchange, and the second one, integrated surveillance department in SEBI. Every stock exchange will have a surveillance cell which keeps vigil on all the activities taking place in the exchange. If any abnormality has been found, it is reported. In case if necessary, full-fledged investigation will be taken. And the second one, integrated surveillance department. This is in SEBI. This is a department in SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, which is a capital market regulator. So this department in SEBI takes references from other regulatory agencies, corporates, investors, media persons, media reports, etc. And also they discuss news and rumors appearing in the media and take decisions which are necessary. Okay, so this is the role of this particular department in SEBI. Next, offline surveillance activity. So this consists of inspections and investigations. Trading members are checked whether they comply with various rules, bylaws of the exchange. So this is called offline surveillance activity. Then margin requirements. Margin is a kind of benefit or a kind of credit allowed by exchanges using which you can trade even if you don't have funds in your account. Okay, suppose if you have a certain number of shares in your demat account, so based on the total market value of those shares, some margin is allowed by the exchange. Okay, so some margin is allowed. Using that margin you can trade even if you don't have funds in your equity account. Even if you don't have funds in your equity account, you can trade using that margin. So margin is a kind of credit or loan given by the exchanges. So there are different kinds of margins. Daily margin, which is allowed on that particular day. So daily margin is a margin which is allowed on that particular day. Value at risk based margin or VAR margin. It is imposed to minimize the risk of default. It is imposed to minimize the risk of default by either counterparty, either buyer or seller. So there is always a chance that buyer or seller may default. He may not perform his obligation. So for that purpose, value at risk based margin is collected. So out of this margin, that defaulted trade is completed. Extreme loss margin. This extreme loss margin is meant to avoid extreme losses. So mark to market margin. For this, I will take an example. Suppose you have bought a shares, you have bought some 100 shares of Reliance Industries Limited for suppose say 1000 rupees per share. So 1000 into 100, 1 lakh rupees. Okay. So 100 shares of Reliance Industries Limited is in your demat account. Now, at the end of the day, the share price falls from 1000 to 995. So you have incurred a loss of 5 rupees. But you haven't sold RIL shares to incur loss, but the system makes adjustment for the end of the day price. End of the day price is 995 RIL. So there is 5 rupees loss per share. So 100 shares into 5 rupees, 500 rupees. So 500 rupees will be deducted from your equity account. Okay. So this is called mark to market margin. So mark to market margin is collected from investors. Okay. There is one small mistake here. When I told you about margin or margin requirements, I committed a mistake. Actually, margin is used in two occasions. One is margin collected from traders, and the other one is margin allowed by exchanges or stockbrokers. I told you the second one. So I'm very sorry for that. Here in this context, risk management, margin requirements. In this context, margin means the amount of fee or charge collected from traders. Okay, the amount of fee or charge collected from traders to protect them from certain risks, to protect them from extreme loss, okay, to protect them from risk of default, to protect them from unexpected price movements, like that. Okay, so margin is used in two contexts. That's why I got confused. The other is margin allowed by exchanges, stockbrokers, using which the trader can trade even if he doesn't have funds in his equity account. That is different. In this context, risk management context, margin means the fee or amount collected from traders in order to protect them from certain risks. Okay. Rolling settlement. Rolling settlement means if the trade is not squared up on the same day, if the trade is not squared up on the same day, then delivery will take place as per the prevailing rules of the exchange. Okay. So square up means, suppose you have bought some shares, by the end of the day you have to sell those shares. Suppose if you have sold some shares using short sell, then you have to buy at the end of the day. So this is called squaring up. If you have bought, you have to sell. If you have sold, you have to buy, like that. So this is called squaring up. If you do not square up on the same day, then delivery will happen. So it will take normally T plus 2 days. As I told you earlier, T plus 2 days, the settlement cycle. Trade day plus 2 days, 2 working days or 2 business days. Okay. If the trade happens on Monday, then plus 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Wednesday, your trade will be settled. If you have bought shares, then shares will be credited to your demat account on Wednesday. Okay. that is called rolling settlement. Then price bands in shares. Price band is a value setting method. By setting lower cost limit and upper cost limit. By setting lower cost limit and upper cost limit between which the traders have to place bids. Okay, suppose to say 200 to 250. So traders can place bids only for prices between 200 to 250. They cannot place orders for 255 or 300. They cannot place orders for 190 or 150. So there is a price band. So putting the limits, restricting the traders to place bids only between those limits. So this is called price bands. Okay. Margin trading. Yeah, this is what I got confused with margin requirements. So here, margin trading means the margin which you use to trade in securities even if you don't have funds in your equity account. So this is margin trading. That is margin requirement. Margin which is collected from uh, traders to protect them from certain risks. That is margin requirement. So margin trading means it's a facility allowed by stockbrokers and exchanges to use securities as collateral. So using securities as collateral, we can trade in shares and securities even if we don't have funds in our equity account. That is called margin trading. So you are using credit, you are using loan, you are using margin. So it is called margin trading. So you are using margin. Then index based market wide circuit breakers. Circuit breakers are applied to trading floor to make the trading system come to a halt. If it breaches a price movement of 10%, 15% and 20%, suppose there is a price movement of 20%, either way, minus 20% or plus 20%. In both the cases, trading in shares comes to a halt. So trading will be closed for the entire day. Suppose if there is a movement of 15%, then trading will be stopped for a certain number of hours. If trading is, if the movement is 10% either way, minus or plus, then trading will be stopped for a certain number of hours. So for this, exchanges have made their own rules. This is called circuit breakers because they don't want to allow any abnormal ups and downs in a short period of time. That is why if there is a movement of around 20% or above 20%, the trading will come to a halt. The trading will be stopped for the entire day. So like this, circuit breakers are applied to trading system or trading floor. If there is a breach of that limit, then trading will be stopped. You cannot trade. Settlement guarantee fund. Every exchange will have its own settlement guarantee fund. So this fund will be used for covering any risk which is associated with settlement, any residual risk. Other than these above, any other risk, residual risk, will be born out of this fund. So here we can have a small discussion on investment and speculation. So investment is like this. You water a seed, it grows up to a plant, then it grows up to a tree. Speculation is like this. You just buy some asset, here gold, you got profit. So Monday you buy a pile of gold, Wednesday you sell gold and book profit. So like that. So the left side is investment and the right side speculation. Let us see what are the differences. Investments are carefully thought out decisions which involve calculated risk. Suppose you want to invest in gold or real estate. You analyze what are the costs involved, what are the benefits, what will be the future income or capital appreciation, everything. So it is a carefully thought out decision, investment. But speculation is based on rumors, hearsay, tips. So it is not a well thought out decision, speculation. An investor has a relatively longer time horizon. Investment is usually for long term, not for a short period. So it is made for a number of years. But speculation is for a very short time horizon. An investor is generally risk averse. An investor doesn't want to take much risk. He wants a reasonable amount of return for a moderate risk. He avoids risks, so he is risk averse. A speculator is generally risk prone. He enjoys taking risks. An investor generally uses his own funds, but speculator normally goes for borrowed funds. He wants to use leverage. The volume of trade of an investor is generally smaller. The volume of trade. An investor usually doesn't invest huge amount of money in a short period and wants to earn big money. No. So investor doesn't do that. A speculator does that. The volume of trade of a speculator is generally larger. Suppose a speculator buys uh, some lakhs of shares of a particular company and he wants to book profit on the same day or within a very short period. Careful evaluation of the prospects of the firm is the basis. So before investing in anything, an investor carefully evaluates pros and cons of the investment. But a speculator depends on hearsay, technical charts, market psychology or sentiment, and uses that as basis for decision making. And in investment, main concerns are safety and security of income. But for speculator, main concern is capital appreciation and quick profits. He wants to book quick profits. So now some information on stockbrokers' activities. Stockbroker is a person who connects buyers and sellers of securities. Is a person who connects buyers and sellers of securities, and he charges commission for that, right? So he charges a commission for that, which is an income for him. So brokers are the members of the stock exchange who execute the buying or selling orders of all those persons who wish to deal at stock exchanges. No individual is permitted to deal directly in a stock exchange. He is allowed only through a stockbroker. Okay, so he needs to open a trading and demat account, and then he has to place orders. He is not supposed to directly place orders in stock exchange. That's not possible. They charge commission for purchase and sale of securities, and sub-brokers who are under stockbrokers. Sub-brokers are the persons who deal with the clients and bring them to the contact of the broker. So sub-brokers are like agents for stockbrokers who help stockbrokers in getting clients. So activities of stockbrokers. So they act as an intermediary between buyers and sellers of securities. So they are a link between buyers and sellers. In the primary market, they can act as underwriter broker for new issue marketing, lead manager, issue manager, merchant banker, portfolio manager, advisor, consultant, etc. So they play different roles in primary market. And in secondary market, they act as dealer, broker, jobber, etc. in the trading ring, dealer in government securities, bonds, etc., advisor, consultant, portfolio manager, etc. And they give allied services like investor services, like home delivery of shares, arranging for transfer of shares, safe custody of shares, etc. They advise clients on investments and build long-term relationships with them. They conduct research on financial markets and securities and publish such findings. They also comply with laws, rules, and regulations. So moving to the next slide, we have broker charges. So the stockbroker performs a variety of activities. So a stockbroker is expected to take every investor up in the financial ladder. Here are the list of top stockbrokers in India: ICICI Securities, HDFC Securities, Zerodha, Axis Direct, Angel Broking, Reliance Capital, Kotak, Sharekhan, SAS Online, and apart from this, there are other pro stockbrokers like India Infoline, Motilal Oswal, SBI Online. So many are there. So broker charges, basically it is a fee charged by an agent or agent's company to facilitate transactions between buyers and sellers. So this we know. So brokers act as a link between buyers and sellers. So they charge commission for that. The brokerage fee is charged for services such as negotiation, sales, purchases, delivery, or advice on the transaction. So negotiation means they help you to get a better price by negotiating with the other party. And sales purchases for using the platform, advice on the transaction, and brokerage fees will usually be based on either a percentage of the transaction or a flat fee. Flat fee like rupees 20 per transaction or rupees 40 per transaction. So that is a flat fee. Irrespective of the amount of transaction, a flat fee is charged. Percentage of the transaction means a certain percent. Suppose 1% of the entire transaction amount. It will not be that much. Suppose 0.5%. 0.5% of the entire transaction amount. Like that. Suppose 1 lakh. Transaction amount is 1 lakh. So 1% of 1 lakh is 1000 or 0.5 thousand. Sorry. 0.5% is 500 rupees. So like that. A certain percentage of the transaction. So now we come to the last slide, steps in online trading. So online trading can be summarized in a small diagram like this. Before trade, trading, and after trade. There are three stages. So before trading, you go to a broker and open Demat and trading account with him, and you transfer funds, and then you place order. That order gets recorded and executed, and contract note will be generated by the broker and sent to your mail account. And after trade, clearing and settlement takes place. So settlement cycle will complete by T plus 2 days. So clearing and settlement will be completed in T plus 2 days. Then transfer of ownership. So the number of securities you have bought will be credited to your Demat account, or if you have sold securities, such number of securities will be debited from your Demat account, and you will get funds, sale proceeds. Then transfer of ownership will happen. So transfer of ownership means title over securities will be transferred. Ownership will be transferred. And thank you guys. This has been a wonderful experience for me and for you as well, I hope. And summary of all these slides, I can put it in one sentence. Suit your investments to your needs and don't do the other way. because many people don't know how to prioritize. So, all the best for your studies, and if you have any doubts or for any clarification, you can text me at my WhatsApp number or leave a comment in the comment box. Thank you, students. Thank you once again.